Hello and welcome back to the Linux Panic YouTube channel. In this video we're going to be going over part 5 of Linux from Scratch, Chapter 8, The Chapter from Hell. But first, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. So previously we left off, we approached Chapter 8 and said we'll return. Now, here's the thing. This is what Chapter 8 looks like. Yeah, there's that many packages and there's a lot of testing to be done, so we have to go through all of that together. So this video will include some jump cuts between sections because of how long the standard build units are, but that is to be expected. So let's get on with the video. So in the introduction, it just goes over saying, hey, look, this is what's going to be happening. It recommends you don't use any optimizations at all because the optimizations could ding us something else down the line, which we don't want, because if we've got this far already, we've done something right, and the last thing we want to do is just absolutely butcher something, which is the last thing we want. It also notes here that the SBU values, or the standard build unit values, have been calculated using a singular core, minus J1 for all operations, which is fine. That's why some of these standard build unit times look very, 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 very low. When it comes to Linux from Scratch, they use shared libraries, so that you'll often see on a lot of configurations that have disable static libraries, which is fine. In 8.2 package management, it goes over and shows you, it explains what the various package management methods are. But in this case, we're going to be going past this. You can come and read this yourself. I'll give you the option to read it yourself in your own time because it's just easier to read it in your own time. So we're now moving on to the starting of the installation of the packages. Now, this will be in the sources directory, which is expected. So we can confirm that we are in the sources directory by doing pwd. We're in the sources, and we need to look for our man pages packages. So you should know this very well by now. It's tar -xf man pages. Man-pages. Just wanted to make sure of that. And now we seed into man pages. And then we copy. Well, in this case, I'm just going to type it in because my mouse is still having a funky moment with me. Make prefix equals /user install. Have I spelled it correctly? That's going to go through and install all 2,200 manual pages, because who doesn't love it? Go back down one, rm-r, man pages 5.3. On to the next package. Now, this IANA one, which stands for, it's actually a very important thing in the tech world. I've just do a quick search for it. It is the Internet Assigned Number Authorities. So this is the package for this, which is important. And it's one of the smallest packages at 4.8 megabytes of space. It's very small considering, well, at the same time, it's all it is just like, hey, look, this, that, go here, go there, that's all it is. It's networking stuff, and networking stuff doesn't take up that much space, relatively speaking. So, what we need to do is tar space -xf. IANA, it's a capital. I thought it was a capital. It is not. That is fine. So cd into IANA. And then we do copy services protocols to etc. Oh, Lord, have a spell. Protocols to etc. And then we just do cd.dot rm-r IANA and move on to the next one, which is where things get funky. Because this is 24 standard build units, this one is going to take some time, so there will be a couple jump cuts in between, which is fine. So the first thing we need to do is tar-xf glibc xz cd glibc, and it says some glibc programs are not FHS compliant. The var db directory uses runtime data. It's basically just apply a patch to make sure this doesn't screw you over. And it's easy, just copy, paste in. Give me a moment. So as we can see here, we're currently in glib 2.3.5, and this is calling for glib 2.3.6. Now, what we can do to confirm this is we're currently in the source directory. We just scroll up to hopefully find glibc 2.3.5. So if you remember, way back to video 1, it was calling for a package that we didn't have. It was some media package, which is fine. So what we can do to remedy this is just hit up and change that 6 to a 5, and it's done. That's all it was. I just had going through and making sure I wasn't having a moment there, which I was having a moment, which is fine. So what we need to do now is do make directory -v build, cd into the build directory, ensure that the ld config and the sln utilities will be installed into user sbin, which is done with that. Get our configuration, options, in they go, wait for them to finish, and then this is the important part. In this section, the test suite for glibc is considered critical. Do not skip it. So that's why this has a standard build unit of 24. So we've covered our configuration. Now we're just gonna wrap our make in a time script. So make time, make semicolon, curly bracket, enter, and I'll be back once this is done. Okay, now that we're back from making, what we're going to do now is that only took 9 minutes, which is not too bad. What we're going to do is do our make check. As we can see here, generally, if your tests do not pass, the test failures listed below are safe to ignore. The IO TST, the MISC TST TTY name, these tests are fine to ignore. So what we're going to do, though there is a harmless message, the install stage of glibc will complain about the absence of etc.l/ld.so.conf. To prevent this warning, just touch etc. Yep. Fix the make file to skip an unneeded sanity check that fails in the LSF partial environment. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this. Paste that in there. Copy, and then paste that in there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make check. So we're going to wrap that in a time script. So we're going to do make curly bracket or time make check semicolon space curly bracket, hit enter, let it go through and do its thing. There'll be a jump cut once we're done. Now that we're back after making, after checking our glibc package, had a small issue. Luckily I had the virtual machine backed up because I caught the power cable to my computer and just lost most of it. So luckily I'm back here. So there were a few errors as expected, one of them mainly being the TST-TTY name, which was expected. So there were 5 fails, 4,991 passes, which is expected. Some of these were expected to cause failures, which, as it says here, a few failures out of 4,200 tests can generally be ignored. You have a few common ones. 9 fails, 9 outright fails out of 4,200. Well, out of 5,000. It says out of 5,000. That's not too bad at all. I'm quite happy with that. So we've done the make check. Now we will run the touch. Run this. And we will fix the make file to skip unnecessary sanity check. Ooh. Unnecessary sanity check. Do that. Now we will install the package. Now, because we aren't checking it and we're just installing it. This shouldn't take nearly as long as it did. Talk about half hour, 45 minutes to do the checks, which is expected considering it's just said over 4200 and there was 4900 passed tests. So it is expected that these things will take some time. So I will come back once I have finished, or once this is finished.
3 days later.
So now that we have finished with the installation, we now need to move on to fixing the executables and doing the rest of this chapter with its very, very long information here. You may have also noticed the 3 days later. It has been 3 days because I had to redo a lot of this work due to some computer issues. So we're now moving back on. So we've done the install and it took a grand total of 51 seconds. So what we now need to do is fix the hard-coded path as required. Simple copy paste, copy paste in. Oh no, I don't want the desktop guide. Copy paste. Oh my day! Oh my days! Oh my Jesus! There we go. Copy paste by amount. Copy paste in the created the directory, as well as do this as we can see here. It created a link and made a directory, which is what we wanted. So install the necessary files for what is needed, because we don't want to make a mistake here. I am going to attempt to copy, and then attempt to copy all of that and paste it in, because that is going to be too much effort to do that manually. So it's just setting up the locales and all that jazz, which we needed to do regardless, so that's fine. Now we just got to wait for this to finish doing the local definitions and all that, so now we just got to sit and wait for it to be done. So now that we have set up our locales, which in this case it's going to pick up as ENGB or ENUS UTF-8 because that's what I'm using. That's what it will pick it up. Now we could in addition install locale for your country and language set, which can be done using this. We can install all the locales listed in glibc 2.3.5 supported file. I'm not going to do that because it is an incredibly time-consuming command. So I'm not going to do that. And then once we've done that, we need to use a local def command to create and install locales not listed there for when I need them. For instance, the following two locales chapter tests. So I'm just going to place these in because they're just there for tests, which I may end up needing, which is much better than the literal hundreds of locales. Well, every single locale times 2, because you've got at least the ISO standard and the UTF standard. So there is a lot of standards to be installed. So that's why I'm not going through and doing every single one of them. So now that we're done, the etc ns switch file needs to be created because glibc defaults don't work in a networked environment. So we need to create that by create the following command. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this. I said we're going to copy this. I'm going to shoot myself. Now that we've done that, we need to set up our time zone, which means we now need to again copy this. So this is just going through and set up the time zone. The time zone data can be a bit finicky because of where you are, because I know where I am. I am in time zone America, New York. So what I will need to do is, instead of determining my time zone, all I need to do is, because I know I'm in America, New York, I just need to change the X's here. And as confirmed here, America, New York. So what I need to do is just type in America / new _ York. Hit enter. That's set. Now I could check it just to be sure, but so I shall. It's just TZ select. And as we can see here, I am in the Americas. And my time zone is New York, which was somewhere over here. So we want United States, so 49. And then New York would be Eastern, which again is the New York time zone, so that was expected, which is fine. Now that we've set up the time zones, all we have to do is just select this, and what this is going to do is going to set up the dynamic loader we need. Hit enter. As we can see, enter file, which is expected. If the desired path of the dynamic loader can also search a directory and include commands found here, generally the files include this. I'm just going to add this in as a safety net, but I have to. I'm not going to because the mouse doesn't want to, but we'll tell you what. Yeah, I'll do this just because I can. So we want to do cd .. Go back down to sources, go here, paste this, do that. Now that we've done that, we don't do rm-r glibc, remove the directory, and now move on to the zlib. So again, now we're getting back down to the smaller packages that won't take a literal age, so we might actually be able to type out some of these commands by hand, which is very good. So what we need to do is tar-xf zlib, cd into zlib, and do /configure help if I could spell, which I can't, configure hyphen prefix equals /user, and then make, we'll wrap this in time, space make curly bracket. Wait for this to finish. Now this is rated to have less than 1 standard, which we can see as it's done there. Do a check. As we can see here, that outputted hello hello, which is what we wanted. Install it, and now we just need to remove a useless directory, which is what we want. So we want to do hyphen fv /user /lib/libz.a. Remove that cd /rm-r zlib. Zlib, remove the directory and move on to bzip2. Again, small directory, it's very nice. So tar-xf bzip2 .tar.gz cd into bzip2. Now I just want to make sure that this is 1.0.8, 1.0.8. This was intended. Now I know I don't need to check any of this at all, because when we ran the wget file way back in video 1, I brought everything down with it, so everything is correct, but it's just worth checking every now and then just to be 100% sure. So what we've done here is we've just made sure the manual pages are in the correct place. Actually, did I make sure the manual pages are in the correct place? So I did the patch, which was this, did the first one and the second one. So we did bin share, manual pages correctly, symbolic links set up, manual pages correctly. Now we do the make for the shared object. I want to do a clean install, and we want to do we want to make it and then run the tests, well, as intended. So then just grab this, run this. It's often faster. With these small packages, the small packages are actually faster to install. So by the time you finish copy it and move back to paste it in, it's already been done, which is good. So we want to now install the shared bzip binary in the correct place, which is in this case user bin, and replace 2 copies with symlinks, which means less files just scattered about the place, which makes life significantly easier. Now we've done that, so we want to do cd./rm-r bzip2 and move on to xz. Again, another small one. This one is 0.2 standard build units, but because it's tiny, it shouldn't take too long, which is it's entirely fine. So we want to do tar-xf xz cd into xz and get our configuration. Make sure we get the dot, which I'm going to have to just get that there, paste that in. My mouse is on its last legs, and it is such a shame. Make the file again, because it's 2 standard build unit, 0.2 standard build units. We may be here for a little while at least, so I'll return once it is done. So now that we have compiled the package, I'm just going to do the quick make check. As we can see here, all of these checks are passing. Outputted all 9 tests passed, which is good. And we just need to install the file. Well, make install software, which it finished. No bothers. Back out again. Remove xz once more. With the recursive xz, say yes. And move on to z standard, which is this one is going to take a bit longer because it's 1.1 build units, which is fine. And so what we want to do is tar-xf z standard cd into z standard, and let's just wrap this in a time script just to see how long. So we want to do time, make semicolon curly bracket, and now we just have to wait for it to finish. Okay, so now that we have finished with the install, it only took a minute, which is not too bad. We want to do a make check, so we're just going to again wrap this in a time script. This shouldn't take too long because it's just going to do exactly what this did, just without the compiling. It's just going to check it, which again shouldn't take too long, but we are just going to sit and wait for it to be done. So now that the checks have conducted, there were no errors. It just did its thing. It didn't spit back any errors, which is ideal. It gave the output of the tests here, which I'm not going to go through. There's a lot. So once we've done that, all we need to do is install the package and then remove one of the static libraries, because we won't be using static libraries in this scenario, as we can see here. If in the test output there are several places that indicate fail, these are expected and only fail in full caps is an actual test failure. There should be no test failures. So we could go through and have a look. We can see warnings. See warning here. Carrying scrolling up, there shouldn't be any outright fails. I'm assuming if the people who maintain this particular package would have put a big bright red fail in the console, but there is none, so we can only assume there's good things. So what we're going to do is just cd out of this and do remove the directory, so z standard, and then move on to file. I'm just going to do a quick up and see we are here out of this. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to have to keep going, unfortunately, because there are a lot of files. What I will do is I will just keep this running and just do a speed up from this point onwards because of the length of this. Okay, so now that we have progressed onwards a bit, now we're currently on bin utils. Now we've gone through the setup process. As we can see here, we've done the install package. Well, we've done the make tool. As we can see here, here's the configuration. We've done the make tool with the configuration. Now we just need to check, test the results, and we can do that with make -k check. Let's go through, do the tests it needs to, and then we can install and remove the quote unquote useless static libraries. Now these tests may take a while, as the standard build unit for bin utils this pass is a 6.1 standard build unit, so we're just gonna have to sit and wait. Okay, so now that we have finished checking, we just need to install the package in the users directory. Copy this, paste this in here. Once that's done, we're just going to remove the useless static libraries and hit enter a couple times, paste in this to remove the static libraries that we don't need, and then we just cd rm-r bin utils and move on to GMP. Now I will go back to speeding things up again because this could take a while, so we now resume back to fast video. Okay, now that we are now partway through the installation of the shadow package, or the preparation of the shadow package, we have some configuration options that we need to pay attention to. So this is just preparing stuff for administrative tasks like say passwords, sudo execution, that explanation of what password shadowing is, see the documentation how to file within the unpack source tree. If using shadow support, keep in mind that programs which need to verify passwords, such as display managers, FTP, POP3, daemons, all that, must be shadow compliant. That is, and they must be able to work with shadow passwords. So what we're going to do is we're just going to enable shadowed passwords, enable group shadow passwords, change the second to the default parameters to that. And then we will do this with for the mail spool. We need to create a root password, so password wd root 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 root. So the password should just be root root root. Well, it is root. So now that we've done this, we need to move on. As we can see here, we have GCC with 153 standard build units. That does include the tests, so it is a sit and wait around for a very, 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 very long time. So let's get started with this. So first off, we need to do / get out, and then rm-r shadow. And we need to tar-xf GCC. GCC is always long regardless of whenever we run it. So in the earlier chapters where we were doing multiple passes of GCC, it was like 3 or 4 standard build units, but because we're now compiling the compiler with running the tests, it's 153 standard build units, so this is expected. So we want to go into GCC, and then we want to start with this. Hit enter. This is just to fix an error. So if building on x64-bit, change the default directory name for 64-bit libraries to lib. So 64-bit. So I'll just run that and that'll be fine for my use. Gonna copy this, paste this in. Now we need to prepare GCC for the compilation. Shouldn't take too long because it's not that big of a compilation file. Now we have to sit and wait for this to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this in a time script. So I'm going to do time, curly bracket, make, semicolon, and then curly bracket, hit enter. Now we just have to wait for this to be finished. So as we can see here, we are still running the GCC tests, and it has been 3 hours now. So what I'm going to do is we're going to come back on another video next week just to catch back up, because there's been a lot of videos and I want to make sure, it's been a lot of time, and I want to make sure that the virtual machine gets backed up so I don't end up losing even more hours. So I'd like to thank you very much for watching. I have been Nick, you have been amazing, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.